My son gave me a bottle of whiskey for my birthday. The next morning, he called frantically asking if I'd enjoyed it. When I casually mentioned I'd already gifted it to his father-in-law, there was dead silence before he screamed, "You did what?" All I could hear was the sound of glass cracking in his voice. If you want to see how this father's revenge unfolds, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our daily stories of family drama and sweet revenge. The grandfather clock in my study struck 7 when I heard Michael's Mercedes pull into the driveway. I set down my polishing cloth and admired the bottle of Glenfiddich 40 years in my hands, part of a collection I'd built over 2 decades since Margaret passed. Each bottle held a memory, a milestone, a moment when life demanded either celebration or consolation. Tonight was my 65th birthday, and I'd be celebrating alone. Again. "Happy birthday, Dad!" Michael burst through the door without knocking, his cologne overwhelming the subtle oak notes still lingering in the air from my opened cabinet. He carried a wrapped box in one hand, his phone in the other, thumb still scrolling. "Thank you, son." I stood to embrace him, but he'd already set the gift on my desk, attention split between me and whatever crisis demanded his immediate response on that glowing screen. "Sorry I'm late. The board meeting ran over." His fingers flew across the keyboard. "But hey, I got you something special. Really special." I unwrapped the box slowly, savoring what I assumed was a thoughtful gesture. Inside sat a bottle of Macallan, the label proudly declaring 30 years. My heart warmed not at the value, but at the thought. Michael knew Macallan was Margaret's favorite. We'd shared a glass on our last anniversary before the cancer took her. "This is unexpected," I said, turning the bottle in the lamplight. "Must have cost you a fortune." "Don't worry about that." He waved dismissively, already checking his watch. "You deserve it. Listen, I hate to run, but there's this thing." "Another meeting?" I tried to keep the disappointment from my voice. "Major investor from Tokyo. Time zones, you know?" He was already backing toward the door. "But enjoy the whiskey. It's the real deal. 30 years of perfection. Would you like a glass before you go? We could toast." "Rain check, Dad. Promise." His phone rang. "That's them now. Happy birthday." The door closed behind him exactly 23 minutes after he'd arrived. I sat back in my leather chair, staring at the Macallan. The bottle felt oddly light for its size. The label seemed to catch the light strangely, almost too glossy. I ran my finger across the embossing shallow. Barely there. My phone buzzed. Emma's face filled the screen, her 12-year-old grin infectious even through pixels. "Grandpa, happy birthday!" She held up a handmade card covered in glitter. "I wanted to come see you, but Dad said you were busy." "Never too busy for you, sweetheart." I positioned the phone against the Macallan, pretending to adjust it while studying the label more closely. "Your dad just left, actually." "Really? But he said he had a—" She turned the phone, presumably to show me something in her room. The image swung wildly, and for 3 seconds I saw it clearly. Neon lights flashing, Casino Royale through a window. The unmistakable sound of slot machines chiming in the background. "Emma? Where are you, honey?" "Mom's friend's apartment. She's watching me while they're at their thing." She turned the camera back to herself. "Dad said it was super important business stuff." My finger traced the Macallan label. The embossing wasn't just shallow, it was uneven, like a rush job. The gold foil caught the light wrong because it was the wrong shade entirely. I'd spent 20 years studying bottles. This wasn't just off, it was offensive. "Grandpa, you okay?" "Just fine, sweetheart. Tell me about school." We chatted for 10 more minutes, but my mind was elsewhere. After we hung up, I held the bottle up to my desk lamp. The liquid inside moved wrong, too thin, lacking the legs that 30 years of aging should create. I unscrewed the cap and inhaled. Alcohol, vanilla, oak, all present but hollow, like an echo of the real thing. I pulled out my phone and typed Macallan 30-year authentication into the search bar. Image after image loaded, each detail confirming what I already knew. The font was wrong. The batch number didn't exist in Macallan's database. The seal was machine cut, not hand-finished. My son had given me a fake. I walked to my collection cabinet and pulled out my own Macallan 30-year purchased 15 years ago, waiting for the right moment. Side by side, the difference was insulting. It wasn't even a good fake. The grandfather clock chimed 8. 1 hour since Michael arrived. Somewhere across town, my son was sitting at a casino, not a boardroom, having spent less than 30 minutes on my 65th birthday to deliver a counterfeit gift. I peeled at the corner of the fake label with my fingernail. It lifted easily, too easily. Underneath, I could see traces of another label, hastily removed. This wasn't just a fake. It was a rushed cover-up, probably purchased in panic when he remembered my birthday at the last minute. My phone buzzed again. A text from Michael. "Hope you're enjoying the Macallan. Save me a glass for when I'm back from Tokyo." I stared at the message, then at the 2 bottles before me. The fake and the real. The lie and the truth. My finger hovered over the reply button, then stopped. I reached instead for my label collection, a drawer full of pristine labels I'd saved from special bottles over the years, including one from a Macallan 30-year I'd finished with Margaret on what would be our last anniversary. Carefully, deliberately, I began to peel the fake label completely off. The adhesive was cheap, leaving residue I cleaned with practiced ease. Then I took the real label, my label, from my memory and positioned it over the fake bottle. Tomorrow, Michael would call. Tomorrow, he'd ask about the whiskey. Tonight, I had work to do. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my study comparing every detail between the bottles, confirming what my heart didn't want to believe. By dawn, I'd found the final proof. A receipt image on a wholesale website. Premium replica bottles fooling even experts since 2010. The Macallan 30-year replica, $50 with bulk discount available. My son had spent less on my birthday gift than he probably tipped the casino valet. At 9 sharp, I called Emma's school to confirm she'd arrived safely, a grandfather's prerogative. Then I drove to Michael's office building. Not to confront him, not yet. I needed to understand why. His secretary, Janet, brightened when she saw me. "Mr. Morrison, what a surprise. Michael's in a meeting, but—" "No rush, I'll wait in his office." "Wanted to surprise him. Maybe grab lunch." She hesitated. "The meeting might run long. Something about international investors." "Tokyo?" I asked innocently. Her confusion was genuine. "Tokyo? No, all our Asian partnerships are through Singapore. This is local, I think. Something about property development." I settled into Michael's office, noting the awards on his walls, the photos of Linda and Emma, the appearance of success. His laptop sat closed on the desk, but papers were scattered beside it. I wasn't snooping, just a father admiring his son's workspace when I saw the letterhead that changed everything. Golden Years Assisted Living Facility Admission Documents. My name was typed in the prospective resident field. My hands didn't shake. Margaret always said I was steady in crisis. I photographed the document with my phone, then noticed another paper beneath it. A financial power of attorney form, partially filled out, granting Michael full control over my assets in the event of mental incapacitation or voluntary admission to care facility. The door opened. Michael entered with another man, both laughing about something. The laughter died when Michael saw me. "Dad? What are you doing here?" "Thought I'd take my successful son to lunch." I smiled, standing slowly. "But I see you're busy with—" "Tom Bradley," the man extended his hand. "Legal counsel. We were just reviewing some documents." "Nothing important," Michael said quickly, moving to his desk, casually closing the folder with the assisted living papers. "Tom, we'll continue this later." Tom left, and Michael's smile became strained. "You should have called first. Since when do I need an appointment to see my son?" I moved toward the window, noting his reflection in the glass. He was sliding the papers into his drawer. "How was Tokyo?" "What? Oh, good. Productive." He locked the drawer. "Actually, about that McAllen—" "It's exceptional," I lied smoothly. "Already had a glass this morning. Smooth as silk." His shoulders relaxed slightly. "Great, great. Listen, Dad, I'm swamped today." "Of course." I paused at his bookshelf, where a photo of Margaret sat. "Your mother would be proud of your success." "Dad, the money she left you for your startup, that was— how much again?" 200,000. His voice was careful now. "No, that's what she left you directly. I mean the amount from my portion that I gave you later, when you were struggling." Silence. 300,000 more, wasn't it? I turned to face him. "Half my inheritance from her, because you needed it, and I believed in you." "I paid you back." "Did you? Must have slipped my mind. Old age, you know. Speaking of which, Golden Years looks like a nice facility." The color drained from his face. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check the time, but letting him see I'd photographed the document. "Dad, that's not. It's just planning. For the future. Every family should be honest with each other." I walked past him to the door, then stopped. "Oh, I'm thinking of sharing that McAllen with someone special. Your mother always said good whiskey should be shared with people who appreciate authenticity." In the parking garage, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, processing what I'd learned. The fake whiskey was insulting. The plans for my institutionalization were betrayal, but the lie about repaying the money was theft of trust. I drove home and pulled out the replica bottle, now wearing its authentic label. Then I grabbed my phone and scrolled through contacts until I found the one I needed. George Hamilton, Michael's father-in-law. Whiskey collector, authentication expert. A man who'd never respected Michael and made no secret of it. I typed a simple message. "George, I have a bottle of McAllen 30-year I'd love to share with someone who'd appreciate it. Free for lunch tomorrow?" His response was immediate. "Charles, absolutely. I'll bring my testing kit, love, to see if it's genuine. So many fakes these days." I looked at the doctored bottle, its false label hiding cheap liquid, dressed in stolen authenticity. Then I opened my safe and pulled out 3 more documents. My will, my investment portfolio, and Emma's college fund that I controlled. Michael thought I was a foolish old man, ready for a nursing home, clutching fake whiskey and fading memories. Tomorrow, he'd learn that some things improve with age, patience, whiskey, and the art of revenge. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "Dad, about those papers you saw. Can we talk?" I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and began researching. How to transfer assets into an irrevocable trust. how to detect elder financial abuse, how to document fraud. The fake label on the fake whiskey caught the morning light perfectly. By the time I was done, nothing about Michael's life would be authentic either. My phone rang at 7:15 the next morning. Michael's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring 3 times before answering, setting my coffee down carefully. "Morning, son." "Dad." His voice was tight, higher than usual. "The Macallan, you still have it, right? The birthday gift?" I stirred honey into my coffee, the spoon clinking against ceramic. "Why do you ask?" I wanted to make sure you're saving it for a special occasion. It's really valuable, and... Oh, that." I walked to my study window, watching the morning sun catch the real Macallan in my cabinet. "Actually, George Hamilton is coming over for lunch today. Thought I'd share it with someone who really appreciates fine whiskey." Silence. Then, "George? Linda's father, George?" "The very same. We got talking at Emma's recital last month about his collection. When you gave me such a generous gift, I thought who better to share it with than another connoisseur." "Dad? No. You can't..." He caught himself. "I mean, that was specifically for you. My gift to you. And as mine to own, I can share it however I please. Isn't that what you always say about property rights? This is different. George is... He's particular about whiskey. Very particular." "I know. That's why he's bringing his authentication kit. Wants to show me how to spot fakes, apparently. The market's flooded with them. Can you imagine? People passing off $50 replicas as $1,000 bottles?" I heard something crash in the background. Michael's breathing became audible. "When did you say he's coming?" "Noon. Why? Would you like to join us?" "I'll be right over. Don't trouble yourself. I know how busy..." The line went dead. I smiled, walking to my cabinet. The doctored bottle sat ready, my authentic label perfectly positioned over cheap liquid. The real Macallan remained safely locked away. 20 minutes later, Michael's Mercedes screeched into my driveway. He didn't knock, just burst in, sweating despite the cool morning. "Dad, where's the bottle?" "Good morning to you too." I remained seated, newspaper in hand. "Coffee?" "The Macallan, Dad. Where is it?" I gestured toward the bar cart where the fake bottle stood proudly. Michael lunged for it, then froze, examining the label. His shoulders relaxed slightly. My authentic label was doing its job. "Thank God," he muttered. Then louder. "I just realized I grabbed the wrong bottle from my collection. This one has sentimental value." "Really? You seemed quite specific yesterday about it being 30 years aged." "It is. It's just, this particular bottle was from a special batch. I meant to give you the other one." "The other fake one?" I turned a page of my newspaper. Michael went rigid. "What?" "Oh, I'm joking." I didn't look up. Though George did mention he's caught 3 fakes this month alone. People trying to pass them off at auction. Michael's phone buzzed incessantly. He ignored it, fixated on the bottle. "Let me replace it with something better." Nonsense. This is perfect. Besides, George confirmed he's coming. It would be rude to cancel now. "Dad, please." The doorbell rang. We both turned. Through the window, George Hamilton's Bentley gleamed in the driveway. "He's early," I said, standing. "How wonderful." Michael grabbed my arm. "Dad, I need that bottle. I'll explain later. Just take your hand off me, son." Something in my tone made him step back. I walked to the door, opening it to reveal George Hamilton. 71 years old, silver-haired, wearing a blazer that cost more than Michael's monthly mortgage. "Charles, hope I'm not too early. Brought my testing kit." He held up a leather case. Cannot wait to see this, McAllen. George, what a pleasure. You remember my son, Michael? George's expression cooled several degrees. Michael. Didn't expect to see you here. I was just leaving, Michael said quickly. Nonsense! George clapped him on the shoulder with excessive force. Stay! Watch how we authenticate real whiskey. Educational. We moved to my study. George opened his case, revealing an array of instruments, a spectrometer, density meter, UV light, and various chemical strips. The fake bottle stood between us like a defendant awaiting verdict. Beautiful presentation, George murmured, photographing the bottle. Let's see what we have here. Michael's phone rang. Linda appeared on the screen. Answer it, George commanded. On speaker. She's probably wondering where you are. Michael, trapped, answered. Hey, honey. Where are you? Linda's voice filled the room. The credit card company called. $3,000 at Casino Royale last night? You said you were at the office. George's eyebrows rose. Michael stabbed the speakerphone off. I'll call you back. Gambling again? George's voice was dangerously quiet. You promised Linda? This isn't about that. Michael reached for the bottle. We should let Dad and you enjoy your lunch. George pulled the bottle away, studying the label with a magnifying glass. Interesting. The batch number? Legitimate. Foil cutting. Perfect. This is either genuine or the best fake I've ever seen. He produced his phone, opening an app. The scanner analyzed the label. We all watched the loading screen. Michael had stopped breathing. The app beeped. Green checkmark. Authentic. Estimated value, $5,200. George whistled low. Michael, I'm impressed. This is the real deal. Michael's confusion was almost comical. He stared at the bottle, then at me, then back at the bottle. But that's impossible. Impossible? George's eyes sharpened. Why would it be impossible? I mean, improbable. That value seems high. Not at all. This vintage has appreciated significantly. George turned to me. Shall we open it? No, Michael shouted, then caught himself. I mean, maybe save it for a more special occasion? More special than sharing with family? I asked innocently. George was already working the cork with practiced ease. Michael's right about one thing: this deserves proper glasses. I produced 3 Glencairn glasses from my cabinet. The pop of the cork sounded like a gunshot. Michael flinched. George poured carefully, the amber liquid catching the light. He nosed it first, eyes closed. Then a small sip. Extraordinary, he pronounced. Charles, your son has excellent taste. Michael stared at his glass like it contained poison. George raised his in a toast. To authenticity, he said, looking directly at Michael. And to men who recognize the real thing when they see it. We drank. I savored the burn of genuine McAllen from my secret bottle, decanted earlier into the fake. Michael barely wet his lips, confusion and panic warring on his face. You know, George said conversationally, fake whiskey is epidemic these days. People think they can fool anyone with a good printer and cheap alcohol. But the real stuff? You can't fake the real stuff. He pulled out a second device, a chemical analyzer. Mind if I test the liquid itself? For my YouTube channel. I'm exposing fraudsters. Michael stood abruptly. I need to go. Sit, George commanded. Michael sat. The device beeped. Another green light. Perfect, absolutely perfect. George smiled at me. then at Michael. "Your father's lucky to have a son who gives genuine gifts." Michael's phone buzzed with texts from Linda. Each message appeared briefly on screen. The bank called too. 50,000 overdrawn? "Michael, where are you?" George noticed. We all noticed. Michael grabbed his phone, standing again. "Family emergency," he mumbled, heading for the door. "Michael," I called after him. He turned. "Thank you for the birthday gift. It's been educational." After he left, George and I sat in comfortable silence, sipping the real Macallan. "That wasn't the bottle he gave you, was it?" George asked finally. I smiled. "What makes you say that?" "Because my son-in-law has never given anyone anything real in his life." He pulled out his phone, showing me a screenshot. "Also because I found this listing for replica bottles in his browser history when I fixed Linda's laptop last week." We looked at each other, two old men with disappointing sons-in-law, sharing excellent whiskey and better understanding. "Charles," George said slowly, "I think we need to talk about Michael." George set down his glass and pulled out a folder from his briefcase. "I wasn't just coming for whiskey today, Charles. I need to show you something." Inside were bank statements, investment documents, and printed emails. My name appeared on several papers, along with George's, Linda's, and even Emma's. "Michael came to me 6 months ago," George began. "Said he had an investment opportunity, a shopping complex development, promised 30% returns." I studied the documents. "You invested?" "Almost, until I did due diligence." He flipped to another page. "The development company doesn't exist. The land he claims to have options on is already owned by a national park. The architectural firm he cited went bankrupt 3 years ago." "He forged all this?" "Expertly. But here's the interesting part." George pulled out another document with my name on it. "He told me you were the primary investor. Said you'd already put in 500,000. I laughed, bitter and short. "I haven't given Michael money since his startup, and that was my wife's money he never repaid." "I know. That's why I started investigating." George's phone buzzed. He showed me the screen, Linda calling. "She doesn't know yet. About any of it." He answered on speaker. "Princess?" "Dad, I'm at Michael's office." Linda's voice was strained. "His secretary says he hasn't been here in 3 days. But he leaves every morning saying he's coming here. And there are credit card charges. Dad, something's wrong." "Come to Charles's house," George said gently. "We need to talk." While we waited, George showed me more evidence. Casino membership cards in Michael's name at 5 different establishments. Loan applications using my assets as collateral not filed yet, but prepared. A private investigator's report showing Michael meeting with known gambling fixers. "How long have you known?" I asked. 3 weeks. I hired the investigator when the investment seemed off. "But Charles..." He hesitated. "There's more. About Margaret's money." My blood chilled. "What about my wife's money?" "The startup Michael claimed to create? It was never registered. The office he showed you? A temporary rental. The success story? All fabricated." The room spun slightly. "Then where did the money go?" "Gambling debts. He was in deep even then. The 300,000 you gave him cleared his debts, but he never stopped gambling. He just got better at hiding it." The doorbell rang. Linda stood outside, still in her work clothes, makeup smudged from crying. Emma was with her, school uniform rumpled. "Mom picked me up early," Emma explained. "Dad was supposed to do it but didn't show." We moved to the living room. George and I exchanged glances, how much to reveal with Emma present. "Sweetheart," I said to Emma, "would you like to see my whiskey collection? There's a new interactive app that tells stories about each bottle." Her face lit up. "Can I take pictures?" "Of course." But in the study, okay? Once she was gone, Linda collapsed into a chair. I found these in Michael's home office. She scattered papers on the coffee table past due notices, final warnings, a foreclosure notice dated next week. We're losing the house? She looked between us. How? His company is successful. He shows me the profits every quarter. George handed her the investigation folder. There are no profits, Princess. There never were. I watched Linda's world crumble as she read. Her husband's lies laid bare in black and white. The gambling addiction, the forged documents, the plans to defraud both fathers. The whiskey, she said suddenly, looking at me. He was panicked about the whiskey. Why? Because he gave me a $50 fake for my birthday. He knew George would spot it immediately. But George said it was real. I switched the labels, put my authentic label on his fake bottle, then filled it with real Macallan. Linda laughed, sharp, hysterical. You knew! Both of you knew. We suspected, George corrected. Now we know. What else? Linda demanded. What else don't I know about my husband? I hesitated, then pulled out my phone, showing her the photos from Michael's office. He's trying to put me in a nursing home, forge power of attorney, take control of my assets. Linda stared at the images. The Golden Years facility. He said it was for a client's parent. I am the client's parent, apparently. Emma's voice drifted from the study, happily narrating into her phone about the whiskey bottles. So innocent, so unaware her world was imploding. What do I do? Linda whispered. How do I protect her? We protect her, George said firmly. Together. I nodded. I've already started. This morning I transferred Emma's college fund into an irrevocable trust. Michael can't touch it. I'm naming you and George as co-trustees. He'll fight that. Let him. I also documented everything. The fake whiskey, the forged documents, the gambling records George found. If he pushes, we push back harder. Linda's phone rang. Michael. Answer it, George advised. Act normal. We need more time to secure everything. She took a breath, composed herself. Hi, honey. Where are you? Michael sounded frantic. At your dad's. Emma needed to see her grandfather. Get out of there. Now. Why? What's wrong? Just trust me. Dad's not well. He's paranoid, making up stories. I held out my hand for the phone. Linda gave it to me. Hello, son. Dad, what did you tell them? Nothing they didn't already know. Or couldn't find out for themselves. You don't understand. I can explain everything. Good. Family dinner tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, your house. I looked at Linda, who nodded. Explain everything, then. Dad. Oh, and Michael, bring another bottle of whiskey, something authentic this time. I hung up. The three of us sat in silence, conspirators now. He'll run, Linda predicted. No, George disagreed. He's too desperate, too proud. He'll come thinking he can talk his way out. And then? I stood, walked to my cabinet, and pulled out a second bottle of real Macallan. Then we pour him a drink and tell him exactly how his future will unfold. Emma bounced back in, phone full of whiskey photos. Grandpa, did you know this bottle is worth $5,000? Value isn't always about money, sweetheart. I hugged her close. Sometimes it's about the truth. She frowned, not understanding. Linda pulled her close, kissing her head. Can we stay here tonight? Linda asked. Of course. As the sun set, we sat together 3 generations united against one man's deception. George and I compared notes while Linda helped Emma with homework. Normal. peaceful. The calm before tomorrow's storm. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. "You're making a mistake, Dad. I'm still your son." I typed back, "Biology doesn't change. But trust, once broken, is harder to repair than any fake whiskey label." Then I turned off my phone. Tomorrow would bring confrontation. Tonight, I had my real family around me, the ones who valued authenticity over artifice. George raised his glass. "To the Alliance." "To the truth," Linda added. "To Grandpa's expensive whiskey," Emma chimed in, with her juice. We clinked glasses. In 24 hours, Michael would face the consequences of his deception. But tonight, we prepared. Every con man thinks he's the smartest person in the room until he realizes the marks were never marks at all. They were teachers, waiting for the perfect moment to school him. The morning of the dinner, I woke to 17 missed calls from Michael. No voicemails. He knew better than to leave evidence. At breakfast, Linda sat across from me, legal papers spread between us like battle plans. "The divorce lawyer says with the fraud documentation, I'll get full custody," she said, pen poised over signature lines. "Wait until after tonight," I advised. "Let him think he still has room to maneuver." Emma entered, backpack slung over her shoulder. "Why is everyone up so early?" "Grandpa's teaching me about investments," Linda said smoothly. "Boring adult stuff." "Is Dad coming to dinner tonight?" The question hung heavy. Linda's knuckles whitened around her coffee mug. "Of course, sweetheart. Family dinner." After Emma left for school, George arrived with reinforcements, his lawyer, his accountant, and a briefcase full of ammunition. "Michael's been busy," the lawyer reported. "He filed paperwork yesterday trying to freeze your assets, Charles, claiming mental incompetence." I laughed. "Let me guess his evidence is that I gave away expensive whiskey?" "Essentially. He also claims you're showing signs of dementia, paranoid delusions about fake gifts and conspiracy theories. How fortunate that I had my cognitive function tested last week." I produced the results from my doctor with perfect scores across the board. Almost like I anticipated this. George's accountant pulled up financial records on her laptop. "He's deeper than we thought. 800,000 in gambling debts. He's been juggling loans, using one to pay another. The house of cards collapses in 72 hours. "Unless?" Linda asked. "Unless he secures either Charles's assets or mine. He needs one of us to sign over power of attorney. That's why he wanted Dad in the nursing home," Linda realized. "Once committed, you'd be deemed incompetent." My phone buzzed. Michael again. "Dad, please, we need to talk before tonight. Alone." I showed the text to George. "Should I meet him?" "With a wire," George's lawyer suggested. "Everything recorded." An hour later, I sat in neutral territory at a coffee shop downtown. Michael arrived disheveled, unshaven, designer clothes wrinkled, the golden boy tarnished. "Dad," he sat heavily across from me. "You have to stop this." "Stop what?" "Whatever you're planning with George. He's poisoning you against me." "Like you poisoned my birthday whiskey?" I kept my voice level. "Oh, wait, that was just fake, like everything else you've given me." Michael's facade cracked. "It was supposed to be temporary. The gambling, the loans, I had a system. Every addict has a system." "I'm not an addict." Several patrons looked over. Michael lowered his voice. "I just hit a bad streak. But I can fix this. I just need..." "My money?" "A loan. With interest. Like the loan I gave you from your mother's inheritance? The one you never repaid?" Silence stretched between us. Finally, Michael leaned forward, desperation bleeding through. "Dad? They'll kill me." "Who?" "The people I owe. Not the banks, the real creditors. The ones who break fingers for late payments. I studied my son's face, searching for the boy who used to build blanket forts with Emma, who cried at Margaret's funeral, who promised to make her proud. That boy was buried under years of lies and desperation. How much to save your life? Hope flickered in his eyes. 400,000. By Monday. And then? Another bad streak? Another system? I'll get help. Gamblers Anonymous, therapy, whatever you want. I pulled out my phone, showing him a photo. His eyes widened. It was the trust document for Emma's fund. I already transferred everything, I said quietly. Every penny I have is locked in Emma's trust. Linda and George are co-trustees. You can't touch it. Michael's face went white, then red, then something beyond color pure rage. You gave it to my daughter instead of saving my life? I'm ensuring she has a future. Something you seemed determined to steal. She won't have a father. She hasn't had one for years. Just a man who lies, steals, and schemes. I stood. But you're right about one thing. You need saving. You'll help? Tonight, at dinner. If you're honest, completely honest, we'll find a solution. What kind of solution? The kind that keeps you alive, but changes everything else. I left him there, staring at his cold coffee. The wire had caught everything. George's lawyer would be pleased. But I wasn't. No father rejoices in his son's destruction, even when that son has become a stranger. Linda was cooking when I returned to Michael's house. She'd been staying there to maintain appearances. The dining room was set for 6. Michael, Linda, Emma, George, his lawyer, and me. He'll run, Linda predicted, checking the roast. He can't. He needs us more than we need him now. Emma bounded in from school. Smells amazing. Is this a special occasion? Every family dinner is special, I said, hugging her. Even when everyone's been weird and quiet all week? Kids notice everything. We'd tried to shield her, but tension seeps through walls like water. Especially then, Linda said. Sometimes families need to talk about hard things. Like Dad's gambling? We froze. Emma shrugged. I'm not stupid. I see the letters, hear the phone calls. Plus, Katie's dad had the same problem. He got help, though. He's better now. Out of the mouths of babes. Linda knelt beside her daughter. Would you be okay if Dad needed to go away for a while? To get help? If it makes him better? Like really better, not pretend better? Really better. Emma nodded solemnly. Then yes. But he has to want it. Katie's dad said you can't force someone to get better. At 6:30, George arrived with his lawyer. They set up in the study documents ready, recording equipment prepared. The trap was set. Now we needed our prey to walk in. 6:45. Linda placed the roast on the table, steam rising like incense. Emma practiced violin in her room, notes floating down the stairs, innocent soundtrack to coming devastation. 7 o'clock. No Michael. 7:15. He's not coming, George muttered. 7:20. The doorbell rang. Michael stood in the doorway, but not alone. A man loomed behind him, 6'4", 300 pounds, hands that had clearly broken more than promises. Dad, Michael said, voice hollow. This is Vincent. He's interested in our family discussion. Vincent smiled, all teeth and threat. I hear there's money to discuss. I'm very interested in money. The roast steamed between us like incense before judgment. Vincent entered uninvited, his presence filling the foyer like smoke. Michael followed, diminished, a satellite orbiting a more dangerous sun. Beautiful home, Vincent observed, eyeing the art, the furniture, the visible signs of success. Shame if something happened to it. There's a child upstairs, Linda said steadily. Then we'll keep our voices down. Vincent settled into Michael's usual chair at the dining table. Please, don't let me interrupt family dinner. George's hand moved toward his phone. Vincent's hand moved toward his jacket. George's hand returned to the table. Now, Vincent continued, Michael tells me there's been a misunderstanding about funds. Family funds that could solve everyone's problems. There's no misunderstanding, I said. The funds are in an irrevocable trust for my granddaughter. Irrevocable. Vincent tasted the word. That's a flexible term. Everything's revocable with the right motivation. Emma's violin stopped. Footsteps on the stairs. She appeared in the doorway, curious. Mom, there's a big man in Dad's chair. Emma, go back upstairs, Michael said quickly. But dinner, now. She fled, frightened by his tone. Vincent chuckled. Sweet kid, violin lessons, private school expensive. Michael owes me $400,000. That's a lot of violin lessons. We don't have, Linda started. You do, Vincent interrupted. Between Grandpa's trust, George's portfolio, and this house's equity, you have exactly what's needed. Plus interest. Let's call it $500,000 for my inconvenience. That's not how trusts work, George's lawyer said from the doorway. He'd been listening from the study. Vincent's eyes narrowed. A lawyer? How convenient. Explain to me how trusts work when someone's knees don't. Are you threatening us? The lawyer asked, phone already recording. I'm discussing finance. Vincent smiled. Michael, show them the photos. Michael's hands shook as he produced his phone. Images of Emma at school, Linda at work, me at the coffee shop this morning. All taken from a distance, all recent. You've been watching us, Linda breathed. Protecting my investment, Vincent corrected. Michael's debt is my debt now. I purchased it from his original creditors at a discount. They were going to be messy. I prefer clean solutions. This changed everything. We'd prepared for Michael's deception, not genuine danger. I caught George's eye, he understood. Time to adjust the plan. I need to make a call, I said. No calls. To my banker. To understand what's possible with the trust. Vincent considered, then nodded. I dialed, but not my banker. 3 digits. 911. Then I set the phone on speaker, face down. Let's discuss terms, I said loudly. You want $500,000. We have a trust worth $800,000 locked for Emma. Perhaps there's middle ground. I'm listening. Michael needs help. Gambling addiction is a disease. If he agrees to inpatient treatment, real treatment, not promises, we could structure a payment plan. I don't have payment plans. Then we have a problem. George stood. Because you're not getting $500,000 tonight. Vincent stood too, jacket falling open. The gun was visible, deliberate. Dad, just give him the money, Michael pleaded. I can't. It's literally impossible. The trust requires 2 trustees' signatures and a judge's approval for any withdrawal. That takes a minimum of 30 days. He's lying, Michael told Vincent. He controls everything. No, son. You just never understood how real protection works. I pulled out the trust documents. Read it yourself. Vincent snatched the papers, scanning them. His expression darkened. You locked away $800,000? Every penny I had. Then you'll unlock it. I can't. Vincent's hand moved. Not to the gun, but to his phone. Emma's school gets out at 3:15. Violin practice Tuesdays and Thursdays. Dance on Wednesdays. Stop, Linda said, stepping between Vincent and the stairs. You want money? Fine. But you don't threaten my daughter. Not in my house. Vincent's smile widened. Brave. Stupid, but brave. Mom? Emma's voice from the stairs again. Why are there police cars outside? Everyone froze. Through the window, red and blue lights painted the walls. No sirens, they'd come silent. Vincent looked at me, understanding dawning. You called them? 3 digits. Amazing how quickly they respond to an open line when they hear threats and money demands. You stupid old man! The door exploded inward. Police flooded the room, weapons drawn, voices commanding. Vincent raised his hands, calculating odds, finding them unfavorable. On the ground, now! Vincent complied. Michael stood frozen, watching his creditor face down on his dining room floor. Michael Morrison, an officer said, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and elder abuse. What? No, he's the dangerous one. We have everything, George's lawyer said, producing recordings. Your father wore a wire this morning. We have your confession about the gambling, forged documents, everything. As they cuffed Michael, he looked at me with naked betrayal. You set me up. You set yourself up the moment you gave me that fake whiskey. I pulled the real bottle from my bag, the one he'd given me, not my replacement. $50 of lies to cover $800,000 in theft. You thought I was too old, too trusting to notice. I'm your son. Biology doesn't make you family. Choices do. You chose lies, gambling, and crime. You brought a dangerous man to dinner with your daughter upstairs. They led Vincent out first, then Michael. He stopped at the doorway. The debts don't disappear. Others will come. No, they won't. George stepped forward. I bought your debts this afternoon. All of them. Every casino, every bookie, every backroom game. You owe me now. Michael's face went white. George, please. You'll serve your time. Then you'll work for me. Real work. Monitored wages. Garnished for restitution. You'll earn your redemption or die trying. That's slavery. That's the consequences. They took him away. Linda collapsed into a chair, Emma running to her. Mom, why did they arrest Dad? Linda looked at me, lost. How do you explain? I knelt beside my granddaughter. Your dad is sick, sweetheart. Not his body, but his choices. He needs help to get better. Like Katie's dad? Exactly like Katie's dad. Will he get better? I couldn't lie to her. I don't know. But we'll be here either way. The house felt hollow after the police left. We sat around the untouched roast, nobody hungry. The fake whiskey bottle stood as centerpiece evidence now, but also a reminder. What happens next? Linda asked. Michael faces charges. Probably 5 to 10 years, less with good behavior, George's lawyer explained. The gambling debts are civil matters now, owned by George. The house is safe, the trust is protected. And Vincent? Federal charges for the threats. He won't be a problem. Emma picked at her sleeve. Can I see Dad before he goes away? If you want, Linda said carefully. I do. To tell him I love him, but I'm disappointed. That's what Katie told her dad. He said it helped. 6 months later, we gathered again for dinner. Same table, different energy. Michael's chair remained empty. He was 3 months into a 7-year sentence, reduced for cooperation. The fake whiskey bottle sat on the mantel, a monument to consequences. Emma had grown taller, older in ways beyond months. She'd visited Michael twice, each time returning quiet but resolved. Linda had found her strength, running Michael's company legitimately now, succeeding where he'd failed. A toast, George proposed, raising his glass of real Macallan from my collection, freely given. To new beginnings. To tell the truth, Linda added. To family, Emma contributed with her sparkling cider. To justice served at the proper temperature, I concluded. We clinked glasses. The whiskey burned smooth and honest. Michael had written me letters from prison. The fourth, arriving yesterday, held something new. Dad, the whiskey wasn't fake because I was cheap. It was fake because I was fake. Every gift, every I love you, calculated for gain. You gave me real. I gave you $50 lies. Michael. I'd shared the letter with Linda and George. Emma wasn't ready yet. Grandpa, Emma said, breaking my reverie. Tell the story again. Which story? About the whiskey switch? How you outsmarted Dad? It had become family legend, told and retold, each time with new details emerging. Linda and George discussed the company's quarterly reports, profits up 30% since she'd taken over, all legitimate. I sat in comfortable silence, studying the fake whiskey bottle on the mantel. You know what's funny? Linda said suddenly. Michael spent more energy maintaining his lies than it would have taken to build something real. That's an addiction, George replied. Not just to gambling, but to the shortcut. The quick win. The easy path that's actually harder. Will he really change? Emma asked from the doorway, violin in hand. We all turned. She'd been listening. People can change, I said carefully. But they have to want it more than they want their old ways. Katie's dad did. He's been clean for 2 years now. Then there's hope for your father, too. Emma nodded, then began playing. Not scales or practice pieces, but something beautiful and sad. A melody that seemed to capture everything we'd been through. My phone buzzed. The prison recovery program coordinator. Your son requests to make amends. Would you participate? I looked at the empty chair, the fake bottle, the real family around me. Then typed, yes, but he brings his own whiskey. This time, it better be real. Linda saw me typing. Michael wants to make amends? Eventually. Recovery, like whiskey, can't be rushed. The grandfather clock chimed 9. We sat together, family forged by choice, tested by deception, strengthened by truth. The fake whiskey on the mantel watched over us, a reminder that not all gifts are what they seem. Emma's violin drifted down, a difficult passage, stumbling, starting again, like recovery, like redemption, like learning to spot real from fake. I raised my glass one final time to the empty chair. The whiskey burned true. If this revenge served cold, hit home with you, like and subscribe to our channel. What would you have done in Charles's place? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, the most expensive lies are often wrapped in the cheapest gifts.